help of my trusty magnifying glasses. I've been gluing little pins onto the hinges, and there's 60 of them, and I caught myself when I was almost halfway and suddenly thought, actually there need to be, half of them need to go one way and half of them need to go the other way, because that's the way the pins sort of look. I'm going to cut them a little bit shorter when they're dry, but they're actually right-handed ones and left-handed ones, and I'm going to be pleased to get these painted up and stuck on. They'll be left to dry overnight. Finally finished the hinges, and you can see spots of white where the glue is drying. It's even actually taken me 2 working sessions to glue them on. Half of them had to be cut down and reformed to make them shorter. They need just a tiny bit more touching up once the glue is dried. Just a little bit of rust solution, like a rusty coloured wash, and then the window at the end, which was as tricky as it looks, because it's the one that's been a source of a recent break-in. That's going to have some bars put in there, and that 4th floor is tacked down in place, and then I can start working on filling it, making it actually look like it's part of the building. Right, time to update you on the last couple of sessions. I'm building an all-nighter tonight. When I'm not sort of actually making things, I'm writing, and what I've been writing recently is a scenario for Call of Cthulhu, and it's based in a warehouse, and it's this particular building, which is actually the Museum of London Docklands. This is a historical photo of it, and those are the loading bays, and that's just what I need for the Sign of the Silent Woman. I need this kind of doors and crane. It's going to be particularly important now that it's floating on an island in the sky, and something like that's going to go here. It's going to have a jutting out platform that comes over the top, or sort of forms this part of the roof of the balcony, and then there'd be a crane, or at least a winch there. While that is driving, this part of the 4th floor is just proving really fiddly for some reason. I'm having to wait for individual bits to dry, and the real big annoyance is the styro glue is great for sticking foam, but a thick glob of it actually takes 24 hours to dry, so more than 24 hours to dry. So the contact adhesive, I wish there was a faster glue sometimes that you could use for the foam, but patience is needed. I can't do just this tiny little bit of glue there, tiny bit of glue there has put all of that on hold. I've been working a lot on the ends. You can see I've now marked out the roof line, so there's that end of ripped away building and this end of ripped away building. What those red marks are just where I've been using a little piece of foam as a marking out stamp with some red paint, just to indicate initially where the roof beam of the other building was, because you're going to see the shadow of that on the building that's ripped away from it, and then marking in where the lintels would have been, and then marking in, not very accurately, not doing a great deal of particular research, but where I think it was plausible for ceiling beams to have gone. This is my next job, is to cut those out and then just gouge out holes and then start on a plastery surface here. And you'll remember this piece of teddy bear fur that was was going to experiment with on that slope. That's a bit of pizza box just to complete that slope. I've been working out how to make it look thick. That's contact adhesive. Used to fold that over, and then it's been clamped down to dry for a while. And then I haven't done my, gosh, quite a lot to update you on. I haven't done my 20 hours on the airbrush, but I have done, going on for 9 hours now of experimenting and learning to use it. And part of the experimenting has been on how to get the thatch look right. Now that's my first attempt, and it's not far off. It's not quite right. The worst thing about that was it took ages. It took about 20 minutes to do that little piece, which is about 2 inches by 3.5 inches. When I tried it below the airbrush, I just do it with paint. It just compressed the fur. So I thought the airbrush wasn't going to work, because when I started spraying it, the teddy bear fur just kind of flew about. But in the end, it had that quite nice effect. That's another go using slightly different colours. When I got there, I decided I don't want that colour. So having just ordered a piece big enough to cover all the roofs, which hasn't even arrived yet, I've now ordered it in a darker colour. It's called Wolf. The new colour is called Badger or something, and it's a dark grey. It's something much closer to the undercolour. This is like I would say there's a silver grey on the top and a dark grey brown underneath, which is going to get me towards to that much more easily than having to spray the whole thing dark grey brown first and then spray it with the light grey over the top. It's just going to take me hours and hours and hours with that airbrush, which is for miniatures really, and it's going to use several bottles of that, and bottles of that are about £3 each. So it just seemed more sensible to buy dark grey. So I rather like that colour. It is very much the colour of new thatch and summer straw, but it's not what old thatch looks like. Gosh, what a lot. Partly because I think that if I have to make any more of those little hinges, I'm going to go mad. For 2 of the windows on the end warehousey bit near the loading doors, I decided to make like louvre vent windows. So chopping up tongue depressors again on the mini table saw, and then they're glued down on here, or taped down on here, ready to be glued. And there's an interesting little thing. It's been months since I did the roof of the tower, but when I did that I learnt about overlapping tiles, that you need to get the bottom row overlapping something to get the angle right. So this tongue depressor here is not going to be part of the louvre slats. It's just to make sure that bottom one sticks at the right angle while I glue the rest together. And it's a bit too much glue. I'm just going to wipe the excess off that before I leave it to dry, and then saw it to the right sizes to fit those templates for the windows. A couple of days I've only had about an hour or 2 a day to work on the project. Those are the shutters, and those are the doors, which are sort of like the loading bay doors. And I've done these top pieces for the balcony and a lot of time and fiddling has gone onto this structure here. You can see all the pins, and there are gaps and things to fill with the strange black putty that I mix up. Pins everywhere, because any two bits I glue together need 24 hours to set. And while I've been doing it, I've been trying to make the decision about what I actually roof these with. Oh yeah, that's the other thing that took a long time. I don't think I've shown you yet. Is the actual hickory-pickory walkway. Now I've been deciding whether or not to do this roof with planking, but I think I'm going to go the difficult route and actually put the thatch on it. That's the test piece of the thatch, the dark brown teddy bear fur with grey paint on it, and I think that's going to go on there. Going to probably have to have a kind of plank at the top there, because I don't think they'd be able to afford lead flashing or quite how you would feed the top edge of the thatch into the side wall of a building, because I can't find any actual real historical examples, but that doesn't matter on this floor because we're getting very fantasy now. I decided that these sticks, which paint splattered sticks now, but I got these in a shop, you remember, which I never normally do. I think I told you about those. I decided they would be perfect for the slats that will need to go across the tops to support a thatch roof. Even though nobody will see them, I do sort of think maybe a child looking up from underneath. I kind of want to do it that way anyway, but I panicked. I thought, what if I go back to that shop and I don't have them anymore? And that reminded me, or made me think I better do the balcony rails first, and then of course that clicked. That makes sense anyway, because I can get my fingers in there. I've also got to do some steps, I just noticed, for these two doors, because they're a little bit high for people of that size. So I need to move on to all that before I carry on the little roof part there. The first thing to do was to snap some of these to fit the most hickledy-pickledy parts of the balcony, and then get that painted up, and finally put those little decorative cocktail sticks in. I'll do a little test piece, I think, first, before I try and do it all the way along. I sort of anticipate problems. Well, this is proving problematic, because today I put these on the pillar drill and drilled all those little holes, which you can just about see. I've actually missed a couple, and then I've drilled the bottom bit as well, and I've just glued those 17mm bits of the fancy cocktail stick in there. But when that glue hasn't gone off yet, actually getting this to line up with there, and actually trying to cut short the couple where I've actually missed some holes, that's just proving impossible. So I'm going to let this dry and see if it can be done more easily when they're dry, sort of maybe just kind of bending them or forcing the couple out. If it doesn't work, I'm going to have to sort of, already made a mistake on the top where I drilled the wrong side. But if that doesn't work, I may have to split this lengthways or something, or think of a completely new solution. I imagine doing this on sort of real banister rails at life size when they're all parallel is tricky enough, but actually doing it at scale with the broken, twisted top and bottom rail is defeated me for the moment. Give it some more thought. Seem to have found the solution. It's gluing the what are these bits called? Spindles maybe, into the bottom rail, letting that dry, and then working the top rail on and using a block of foam and pins as an extra hand, and it seems to work for the moment. So this afternoon I have drilled up the other 7 pairs of top and bottom rail. I spend the rest of tonight cutting cocktail sticks to 17mm lengths and sticking them in. It'll probably take a session or two, but this seems to crack the problem. Taken well over an hour to cut those to the right lengths and stick them in with just with PVA, and that's actually the easy bit, but it's definitely easier to do it like that and then leave that to set, and then come back tomorrow or the next day and attempt to get those top rails into place. And 1 or 2 of the cocktail sticks will have to be sort of bent, removed or repositioned to do it, and it will need some sharp intakes of breaths and some resilience to avoid saying bad words while I do it, but it is coming on. I'm really rather pleased with how that's going to look. The loading bay is done. It needs a crane now, and something's gone a bit weird there because I left that empty. This is really strange. You don't see, and sometimes you look at something through a camera and you see something. So that was originally going to be the loading bay. I've got no sort of front on there, and I've got no side rails on this. Let's figure that out. The balcony is done. I've still got these pins in. They're not doing anything now, but the balcony looks good. I'm pleased with it. Still a few little places where I've just been making some little corrections and filler. Now the next thing is to start working on, or the next main thing other than correcting little errors, strange errors, is to start working on the thatch, and it needs a support, which I'm going to do with slats of the long, I don't know what they are really. That's just called craft wood or something. They're not designed to be skewers or something, because they're square in section. And this is why it's worth watching things on YouTube, because you pick up techniques. Now, I can't remember where I saw this, but I need to split those sticks to make the slats that I want. A couple of little bits split in half, glued onto there. I'll take the blade of this out of there, glue that on, glue a little, all with hot glue, which is on at the moment. It's starting to smell. Blade on there, a little structure on top with a generous blob of hot glue, and then hopefully I shall be able to just push several of these through that hole, and it should just work as like a little plane and split them all fairly evenly in half. We'll see if it works.